More on the continuous registration exercise as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. We're now being joined by Emmanuel Njoku. He is the Project Manager, Democracy and Governance at Connected Development. That's good. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, this is a plan by INEC to capture about 20 million new voters to actually register. How optimistic are you that we'll be able to see this happen before the 2023 elections?
Yeah, I believe this is possible because the last one INEC did, they had just about 1,400 centers, but this one, they said they have doubled the centers to about 2,700 and something centers. But beyond that, they are bringing this registration closer to young people with the online registration. So clearly, because of the expansion of the centers, doubling the centers, and then the online registration, a lot of young people have not been able to register to vote because most young people simply can't spend a day, 2 days queuing up the whole day just to get themselves on the voter register. But by doing this online registration, every young man within the city centers have smartphones. So on their phone, they could just get in there and they register to vote. So it's very, very commendable. And so talking about the last one they did before 2015 election with just 1,400 centers, they were able to record 14.2 million voters. Now with this, doubling the centers to 2,007 and then online, clearly, we'll probably expect over 20 million. And I can tell you that out of that 20 million, more than 70% will be young Nigerians. Because, so who is going to register? Emerging voters, people that have turned 18 from the date of the last CVRT date. They are mostly young. Of course, they are young people, 18 years old, they are young people. Then people that have not registered all this while, they are mostly young people because they just don't trust in the system. Or they don't trust that their votes probably will count. So they are mostly young people. Then people who have also transferred. And you know who relocates the most? Is the youth demography. They're the ones that get married. They're the ones that are doing NYSC now that will not be here by the next election. They are the ones that are getting new jobs. So it's young people that are always moving. They are the most mobile demography, the young people. So I believe that this whole process that INEC is starting, which is very commendable, is INEC giving power to the young people. So we are very excited.
But INEC is not saying that, hey, look, besides the digital registration portal, that the manual portal. I mean, when you take those in the rural Nigeria, for example, where communication is arduous, then you see that they go side by side, right?
Yeah, so the INEC is saying that the first 3 weeks is going to be online, and it will still continue for at least 1 year. But they're not saying it's only online, like you rightly put it there. So people that are in rural areas who do not have access to internet can still go to the physical offices and do the registration from beginning to the end. But what are we talking about here? In the last election, out of the 83 million registered voters, over 51.3% were young people.
Absolutely, and that's where the challenge is, because some analysts will say it goes beyond the number of people that you register, but getting people to come out to vote is still a major challenge. I know that INEC has a plan towards electronic voting, maybe by 2023 election. Well, they're saying they're planning to start it by November. Well, that was the promise from last year. But the issue of the Electronic Act, as it is, I say Electronic Act, that's the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Okay. As it stands right now, yes, there are promises, but we've seen promises being made before, but that amendment that will allow for electronic voting is still not law in Nigeria. So how much of a challenge, beyond registering these young people, if we don't have electronic voting, would we get these youths to come out to cast their ballots?
So we're hoping that in future that the electronic voting part may come in. I'm not particularly sure the amendment is trying to bring in this electronic voting thing you are talking, even if the Amendment Act pulls through, the Electoral Act.
I can tell you that INEC has said they're making
Amendment Act bill, yeah. So even if that pulls, but the problem why we have voter apathy in Nigeria mostly is young people don't even trust in the system, and so that citizens' government, distrust is there. So with INEC, young people just believe that their votes don't count. But I can give it to INEC sincerely. Since 2015. The 2015 election, INEC in a way they've stepped up their game in a lot of ways to try to make the votes count. But young people, so the sad thing, let me bring this thing now. The sad part about it is that for every effort Nigerians, electoral stakeholders, and even INEC themselves make in trying to see that the people trust the process, the government in itself just finds a way to make people not to trust the system. So take for instance now, the nominee from the presidency, the Loretta Onoche, someone who will know clearly that is a card-carrying member of an APC, someone who understand who works with the president, someone who, there's this investigation online platform that pulled out, what was it called, a court, an oath she took in court, where she said that she's an APC member. And then we are seeing, so with all of the efforts that has been made, does the presidency really understand the message they are sending to young Nigerians who are struggling to believe that their votes will count? So if you bring in a Loretta Onoche, who is a PA to the president, who is an APC card-carrying member too, so where is the independent in INEC when you bring it? So how does the chairman or leadership of INEC work when the president is bringing in a full card-carrying member too? So these are the issues why we keep having voter apathy. But I will tell young Nigerians one thing. You know, so politicians want to always make us think that votes don't count. Votes in itself counts. It is beginning to count since 2015 election. But there are issues, other technical issues that politicians have to find a way to go to court to make us, to take it from the back. But votes, if votes are not counting, why are politicians buying votes? Really, why are they? So will you go to market and buy what you don't need? They spend billions buying votes because they know that the votes will count. So Nigerians need to understand their votes will count. So this is an opportunity for young people who have not registered and who have turned 18 to get themselves on the voter register. Because that's the first, and beyond all of this thing, is their civic obligation for crying out loud. So we'll complain. We're on Twitter ranting and talking about why the president is taking out Twitter from us. But this is this is the channel for us to either reward the party in power or to sack the party in power in the next election. Yeah. Right.
Interesting. Well, we'll wait and see how the system really would work for the young people. But it's important that we can't keep complaining without really going out there to carry out our civic responsibility, which is get registered, and of course on the D-Day come out and cast your ballot.
We just hope that the thugs too will allow.
Yeah, that's another part. That's another part.
If not, you know, I think the electronic voting would just be superb for the country.
Yeah, I hope that as a country we'll get to that point. That's the beauty of democracy. We'll keep improving.
Emmanuel Njoku from Code would have to say thank you so much for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.